right, how's everyone doing? Good, well, again, I'm Senator David Carlucci, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here tonight. And like was said, I've worked on legislation here in New York to really promote organ donation. And we've heard it said over and over again tonight about the demand, about the need. And unfortunately, right now in New York State, we have over 10,000 men, women, and children currently waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. And what's so upsetting about that is that in New York, we have one of the lowest participation rates in the organ donor program in the nation. And so in the legislature, I worked with some partners and worked with advocates to say, what can we do to make a difference? There's got to be some simple policy changes that we can do and catch up to the rest of the nation. And that's why I'm so honored to be here tonight to introduce the next honoree. Rocco Andriola really is a champion when it comes to advocacy. He's a guy that really focused on the outcome and kept saying, hey, what can we do here in New York to reverse that trend? And the idea with Lauren's Law is very simple. We took what's working in other states and implemented the best of that here in New York. So now when you go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, where 97% of the people that register for organ donation do it, they'll be asked a question. It's called mandated choice. In order to fill out that application, they now have to decide whether you'd like to be an organ donor or not. And by taking that simple policy change, we believe we will save lives. But what's so exciting about Rocco is his advocacy in getting groups together, getting people together to finally decide and say, we can't be stagnant. We've got to take action. We've got to move it forward. And Rocco and I were just reminiscing earlier about how his leadership really pushed this forward. That he was able to get advocates together and focus and say, we can complain, we can talk about the problem, or we could take action. And that's what we did under the leadership of Rocco. He's been working towards this goal, towards the goal of supporting organ donation and helping the American Liver Foundation for so many years, for 26 years, after his father received a liver transplant that saved his life and gave him a quality of life for so many years following that. So it's people, the people in this room, the people like Rocco that were really helping to save people's lives. And I just want to really thank Rocco and everybody in this room for participating in such an important cause. Because unfortunately, you know, you don't read about this on the front page of the paper. It's something that isn't covered on the nightly news. But we know with the action, with the research, with the contributions that all of you are making, we will make a difference and save lives. So I want to thank Rocco for his leadership, and it's my honor and privilege to present him with the award tonight.
It's a great honor and privilege to receive this award. Let me first thank the American Liver Foundation, Greater New York Division for this award, and for the incredible work they do. I also want to thank my family, friends, and business colleagues for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here tonight, and for their financial support of this gala. And last but definitely not least, a special thank you to the two women in my life. First, my wife, Susan, who has always been there for me and been extremely supportive of my involvement in the cause of organ donation. And second, my mother, who dedicated her life to caring for my father for over 2 decades. And finally, let me also congratulate Dr. Tepperman and Bob Polacchino for their longtime leadership and commitment in the fight against liver disease. In 1988, my father's health was declining rapidly due to hepatitis. It was non-A, non-B, caused by a blood transfusion. He was close to death, and the doctors made it very clear that he was going to die within weeks. It was only a question of when and not if. We were told at that time that our only hope was a liver transplant. Although frankly, as I look back, I thought it was completely futile. We had nothing to lose, and I wanted to do everything possible in my power to help save my father's life. It's hard to believe back in 1988, there were no liver transplants being performed in New York City. So my father, mother, and I went off to Pittsburgh, and sure enough, my father received a life-saving liver transplant. When life gives you a second chance, you have to take it. My father lived an extra 20 years. He woke up to over 7,000 bonus days of life. And he was there for the births of many grandchildren. He celebrated his 50th wedding anniversary, and he enjoyed many milestone events. So who would have thought all of that could be possible? In fact, none of it would have been possible without my father's donor and without a family deciding at the most tragic moment in their lives to donate the organs of their loved one. So during the 20 extra years my father lived, and the 6 years now since his death, I have been saying thank you by supporting organ donation and being involved in the fight against liver disease. The demand for organs is far exceeding the supply, and the problem in this country is only getting much worse. The United States has a major organ shortage crisis, which is not getting the media attention which it deserves. In the meantime, we have a national wait list for all organs, which is exceeding 134,000 patients. As Dr. Tepperman referred to before, there is a brutal debate now going on the fairness of how an insufficient supply of livers is currently being allocated throughout the country. And unfortunately, in my opinion, we are just rearranging the deck chairs of the Titanic. We need to put a great deal more focus on increasing the size of the pie rather than fighting about how the pie is being cut up. So I've been told that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and somehow magically expecting a different result. So we need to stop the insanity now and develop new and innovative approaches to address what I believe is a horrible crisis. So specifically, we need to create pilot programs providing lifetime healthcare coverage, disability and life insurance for living donors, and funeral benefits for deceased donors. Thank you. We should also carefully examine additional benefits, such as a pension contribution, a tax credit, or a charitable contribution in the donor's name. On a personal basis, I am going to continue to work with enlightened legislators like Senator David Carlucci and new advocacy groups which are being formed, like Wait List Zero. My focus is going to be laser-like. It's going to be on how we can use public policy, just like what was done with seatbelts, smoking, and drunk driving, to create appropriate incentives to address the supply of organs. In conclusion, I'd like to accept this award in memory of my father, Pasquale, who cherished his second chance at life and the gift of life he received. I never heard my father complain, say that life is unfair, or ask, why me? But I did hear him thank God and his donor for every new day that he received. My thanks again to the American Liver Foundation, Greater New York Division, for this wonderful award. Have a great evening, and thank you for coming.